All right, guys, we're recording this video with one of our newest tribe members, valued tribe member, Assad Siddiqi, who has a unique perspective on what's going on in these present times we face. And he's also located out of the country right now. So if our reception gets a little glitchy or we have some background noise, it's because he's in the airport heading back to the United States. But guys, I want to bring on Assad Siddiqi. And Assad has a unique perspective because he is financial director of Massachusetts General Hospital, one of the largest hospitals in the nation. And we're going to hear from him based on two perspectives. Number one, in the healthcare industry, but number two, as a reseller. So this brings a unique perspective to us, and we're so happy to be able to hear from Assad today. So Assad, thank you for spending this few precious minutes with me.
Happy to do it, then.
So we were talking just a few minutes ago as we were messaging, and you were mentioning that there's a number of things that people may not be aware of with the coronavirus and how they're equating it to everybody gets the flu and there's this many flu deaths every year. So why is this a big deal? So I want you to first speak to that so we understand what the medical community understands. And this is not a political viewpoint. This is actually from the mouths of the medical community in Mass General.
Yep. So, as you stated, I think this is certainly something that's a hot topic right now. And we at the Mass General have been preparing to craft a response to COVID-19 for the last 2 months, pretty much right when we found that it emerged from China. So a few things that people should be aware of. One of the things that's significantly complicating the treatment plans around this disease is the way that the disease is spread, which is through droplets, right? So when you cough, those droplets can go out into the air, and that's why they're recommending people don't go into these large groups. Now, I think some of the misinformation that's out there right now is first around, well, if I get the disease and I'm going to recover from the disease, why should I be so worried about it? And that's true. Most people will get this, and they will largely not even have any really bad symptoms. About 20% of the people that actually will have COVID-19 will require some degree of hospitalization or advanced care. Of that 20%, around another 20% are going to need really intensive care. That's in the ICUs, and of that whole population, about 3 to 4% of people are going to die, which is really unfortunate. But I think, one of the things that I think we aren't hearing a lot about right now is we just want to have the truth, and I think it's important that people are just cognizant of the numbers. Being a finance guy, that's something that I think about a lot. What I also think is important for people to understand about the disease is the reason that they are encouraging this social distancing phenomenon is really due to a phrase that we've probably heard a lot the last few days, which is flattening the curve. And the way diseases like this, in particular those that are spreading through droplets, spread, it's like trying to stop the wind, right? So the only way that you can stop the wind is you don't go outside. Right. So when people are encouraging you to, think twice before you go out and socialize with others, they are giving you the right advice. And what we're trying to encourage people to do is, and I shared this with you before, is really try to answer 4 questions before you decide to step outside of your house. One is, what will be the benefit of me doing this thing? 2, what's the benefit of me not doing this? 3, what's the negative potential implication of me doing this? And 4, what's the negative consequence of me not doing this thing? So really, once you're able to answer all 4 of those questions, it really frankly becomes fairly clear as to whether or not you should do something. What we worry about is not that people aren't going to get sick, but there's 2 populations really in the healthcare world that we are concerned with. One is the elderly population. So these are folks 65 or over. The second population is what we're calling the immunocompromised population. So those are people that might have cancer, or they're struggling with heart disease, One of the problems in our country that isn't in China, which is why we're specifically worried at PMGH, is obesity is a lot more prevalent in a place
Wow.
like America than a place like China. So, there's a
We don't
multitude of factors.
normally, in America, we don't normally consider obesity as a risk factor for a major pandemic.
Correct. That's right. And so what can you do, right? Like, so I think first off, anybody can take away from this. There are things that we all can do to try to strengthen our immune systems. Try to exercise more, right?
It's good.
Making sure that you're getting good night's sleep. Try to eat a bit more healthfully if you can.
Right.
You know, um, and doing all of those things collectively will position your body the best that it can be for this type of a disease. Unfortunately, today, there is no cure for it. There is no vaccine. So
Right.
if you get it, it's going to have to run its course. And then once it's done, then perhaps you're sitting in a different situation and you'll be able to go back out into society, right? But if you are sick, and that's why people are really encouraging this, please stay home, even if you have very moderate or minor symptoms,
Right.
because you can spread.
Right.
A
So
couple other.
let me
Oh, please
jump
go
in
ahead.
here with this just a second. So I like that you're proposing this four-way test as we challenge ourselves as individual resellers moving forward in our businesses or moving forward in our lives with our families, our children, et cetera. That four-way test that you just proposed to help us not only be less susceptible to disease ourselves, especially if we're in the risk category, but also not to be carriers to those who might be in the risk category. And
Yep.
then the third part of that is then we're not contributing to to the um, uh, the masses that the hospitals are going to have to be dealing with. So we take ourselves out of that equation, and we're not contributing to the problem by taking care of
Yes.
ourselves and our families in home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And
So
one of the things that.
talk about the fact that we really are, I mean, you really are, and you guys in the healthcare industry really are in a war right now.
Yes, totally. And that's a great analogy and really the way to describe it. We are preparing ourselves to go to war, and you don't want to send your soldiers to war without the necessary munitions, right? So in the hospital world, there's really three things I think that we're thinking about as it relates to how we prepare for this. One is, how do we have the capacity for this stuff? So remember, I shared some numbers with you before.
Right.
There's about 1 million hospital beds across this country, most of which are generally full all of the time. And despite the fact that we've got this epidemic going on, people will still have heart attacks. There will still be car accidents. People will have strokes. Those people really need care, and they're going to take a portion of those beds.
Right.
What we as a hospital really need in terms of equipment are two things. One is we are short on some of the respiratory equipment that we need, ventilators in particular. There's just not enough in the country.
Gotcha.
Hopefully, the larger private companies can ramp up some of their production and help address that. The other area, though, which actually does touch a little bit closer to us as resellers, is an area that we call PPE, which is personal protective equipment. Those are your N95 respirator masks, gowns, gloves, sanitizer to some degree, although that's not really necessary so much in a hospital setting the way it might be to the community at large.
Sure.
But I think that what's really important for us to think about is we need to keep the people who can take care of these folks healthy.
Right.
Like, and we need to be doing whatever we can as a community to try to contribute to that effort. And if there are things that we may have access to. For example, our community may have stockpiled some of these PPE types of goods. Should we be donating them? I would argue yes, right?
Right. So what might be kind of interesting is and you alluded to this earlier, that the reseller community come together, and you used a real interesting phrase that you talked about becoming part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And so there may be a way for the reseller community to find a place where if we have some of these extra supplies on hand, instead of looking at ditching them somewhere, you know, maybe in a church pantry somewhere that may never get used and never get out there to the medical community, you know, getting them to one of our central prep centers or something like that, get it all boxed up and get it heading out to hospitals or to clinics or to people on the front line of the battle. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally, totally. You know, and if if folks do have those types of things, please feel free to reach out to me. We're coordinating efforts like that at Mass General, but there are similar efforts going on at hospitals all around this country.
So that's it today, folks. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Tribe Talks. If you're interested in selling on Amazon, just jump on the link below.
And folks, if you enjoyed Tribe Talks, seriously, if it helped you maybe take one more step in life, could we get you to take one more step here and subscribe to the link below?
And see you next time on Tribe Talks.
Take care, everybody.